The grand hall of the Celestial Alliance buzzed with voices from a dozen different species. Blue-skinned Volteri diplomats hovered near crystal refreshment tables. Massive Krell warriors stood guard, their scales gleaming under the artificial sun that lit the space station. Energy beings from the Mox Collective pulsed with light as they communicated in rapid bursts. Among them walked Jack Bailey, his simple black human uniform making him stand out like a shadow among stars. At 6 feet tall with broad shoulders and short brown hair, he was neither the tallest nor the strongest being in the room, but other species watched him with curious eyes. Jack nodded politely as he passed an 8-foot Krell general. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community, only joining the Celestial Alliance 3 years ago. Most Alliance members still viewed them as primitive, barely beyond their first interstellar flights. Commander Bailey called a melodic voice. Jack turned to see Ambassador Leva. Her insect-like features arranged in what he had learned was a Volteri smile. "I trust you are finding the summit agreeable." "It's quite the gathering," Jack replied, accepting a drink from a floating tray, "though I notice many discussions stop when I approach." Leva's antennae twitched. "You must understand, your species is unusual. Many find humans unpredictable." Jack smiled. "Is that a polite way of saying dangerous?" "Interesting would be my word of choice," she said. "Come, there is something I wish to show you." She led him through sliding doors into a quieter section of the station. They entered a dim room where a single object stood on a pedestal in the center, bathed in soft light. Jack moved closer, curious. It appeared to be a suit of armor, unlike anything he had seen before. Its surface shifted between colors like oil on water, with lines of light pulsing across its surface. It was roughly humanoid in shape, though its proportions seemed strange. Too narrow at the waist, arms slightly too long. "This is the Aegis armor," Leva said, "discovered 500 years ago on a dead world at the edge of known space." Jack circled the display. "It's beautiful, some kind of ceremonial outfit." The Volteri made a clicking sound that Jack recognized as laughter. "If only it were so simple. This armor is perhaps the greatest mystery in our collective history. Our scientists believe it contains technology far beyond even our understanding." "What's it made of?" Jack asked, noticing how the surface seemed to ripple slightly, as if breathing. "Unknown materials. It resists all attempts at analysis. But that is not what makes it legendary." She gestured to a small control panel, and a holographic display appeared, showing footage of various alien species approaching the armor. Jack watched as a massive Krell warrior attempted to don the armor. The moment it touched his scales, energy sparked and the Krell was thrown backward. The scene repeated with different species. Some were simply repelled, others seemed to be in pain when they touched it. "The armor has rejected every attempted wielder from every known species," Leva explained. "The greatest minds in the Alliance have studied it for centuries. Some believe it's merely decorative, with defensive measures to prevent theft. Others think it holds power beyond our comprehension." Jack felt drawn to the armor. A strange pull he couldn't explain. "Has every species tried?" "All major Alliance members, yes. After the first 100 failures, it became something of a tradition for new member species to attempt it once." Her antennae waved toward him. "Humans have not yet had their turn, though few expect different results." "Why keep it on display if no one can use it?" Jack asked. "Hope, perhaps," Leva said quietly, "or a reminder of how much we still don't understand about the universe." A sharp alarm cut through the room. The lights shifted to a pulsing red. "What's happening?" Jack asked, instantly alert. Leva's posture stiffened. "Emergency council session. Something is wrong." Her voice dropped. "Very wrong." As they rushed from the room, Jack looked back at the armor. For just a moment, he could have sworn the pulsing lights followed his movement, tracking him like eyes in the darkness. Jack followed Leva through crowded hallways as aliens of all shapes rushed in the same direction. The emergency lights cast everything in a blood-red glow. They entered the Grand Council chamber, where representatives from 30 species sat in rising tiers around a central platform. The room buzzed with worried voices. "What's happening?" Jack asked a nearby human aide. "The Void Swarm," she whispered, her face pale. "They've destroyed 3 border outposts in the last day." Jack had heard rumors about the Void Swarm, an insect-like race that moved through space like locusts, consuming everything in their path. Until now, they had been just stories to frighten new Alliance members. The room fell silent as High Commander Zex, leader of the Krell forces, stepped onto the central platform. His reptilian face was grim. "The reports are confirmed," Zex said, his deep voice filling the chamber. "The Void Swarm has broken through our outer defenses. Helios Station has fallen. New Haven Colony is overrun." Screens around the room showed footage of the attacks. Jack watched in horror as thousands of black, insect-like ships swarmed around Alliance cruisers. The massive defense vessels, each capable of destroying a moon, fell one after another under the endless wave of smaller attackers. "How many ships do they have?" someone called out. "Millions," Zex replied simply. "They breed new ships as they consume resources. The more they take, the faster they grow." The room erupted in panicked voices. Jack saw fear on alien faces that had always seemed so controlled, so superior. "We have fought them before," a glowing Mox representative said, its voice translated through speakers. "Never in these numbers. Our models predict they will reach core Alliance worlds within 30 days. Jack felt a chill. Earth was still considered an outer world, barely protected by Alliance fleets. If the core worlds were threatened, Earth would be abandoned without a second thought. "I request permission to speak," said a voice Jack didn't recognize. The crowd parted to reveal an ancient Krell, his scales faded to pale gray with age. "Council member XR, said the chairperson, nodding respectfully. "The council recognizes you." The old Krell moved slowly to the center. "We face extinction. It is time to try again with the Aegis." Murmurs filled the room. Jack leaned toward Leva. "Try what again?" "The armor," she whispered. XR believes it's a weapon. He has tried for centuries to activate it. 300 years ago, XR continued, the swarm came in smaller numbers. Our greatest champions tried to harness the Aegis then, and failed. But we have new species now, new possibilities. His ancient eyes scanned the room until they found Jack. "Even humans." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Jack felt his face grow hot. "With respect, Elder," said Commander Zex, "we need real solutions, not myths. The humans are barely space-capable. Their ships would burn in seconds against the swarm." Jack stepped forward before he could stop himself. "We may be new to your stars, but humans have fought against impossible odds before." The chamber grew quiet, all eyes on him. "The Alliance has tried the same approaches for centuries," Jack continued. "Maybe what you need is a new perspective, a human perspective." The Earth Ambassador, a stern woman named Paula Reed, grabbed Jack's arm. "Commander Bailey, you overstep," she hissed. But Sarleth was nodding slowly. "Let the human try the armor. What harm could it do? We have nothing to lose." "This is highly irregular," the chairperson said. "The testing of the Aegis is a ceremonial honor, not a military action." "I volunteer," Jack said firmly. "If there's even a small chance it could help against the swarm, we should try." Ambassador Reed's grip tightened. "Bailey, you do not speak for Earth in this matter." "If not now, when?" Jack asked, looking around the room. "While we debate, colonies burn." Zarleth's ancient eyes locked with Jack's. "Tomorrow. The human will attempt the Aegis tomorrow." As the meeting dissolved into arguments, Jack wondered what he had gotten himself into. But one thought kept repeating in his mind. The image of the armor's lights tracking his movements, almost like it had been watching him, waiting. The Chamber of Trials was deep inside the space station, surrounded by thick walls. Jack stood at the entrance, trying to calm his racing heart. Two guards, tall Krell warriors with spotted scales, watched him with doubtful eyes. "You sure you want to do this, human?" the larger guard asked. Jack nodded. "I'm sure." The massive doors slid open, revealing a circular room. In the center stood the Aegis armor on a raised platform, bathed in soft blue light. Around the platform stood representatives from the major Alliance species, their faces solemn. Havzar Leth approached Jack. "Many have tried. All have failed. Do not be disappointed when you join them." "Such encouragement," Jack said with a small smile. He noticed a human woman standing near the armor. She had dark skin, curly black hair, and wore a science uniform with many pockets. "Commander Bailey," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Dr. Vela Norton, Genorchaeology. I've been studying the Aegis for 3 years. Jack shook her hand. "Another human here. I thought I was the first to try." "Try, yes. Study, no." She lowered her voice. "Don't let them rush you. There's something different about this armor. It's not just a weapon." Before Jack could ask more, the ceremony began. One by one, champions from different species approached the armor. A massive Krell warrior performed a battle dance before touching the armor's chest plate. Sparks flew, and he stumbled back with a roar of pain. A glowing mox floated around the armor, sending pulses of energy at it. The armor absorbed the energy but remained still. A 6-armed Valtteri recited ancient words while placing all hands on the armor. Nothing happened. Finally, it was Jack's turn. The room went quiet. "Do humans have a ceremony?" XR Leth asked. Jack thought for a moment. "We shake hands when we meet someone new." This earned a few laughs around the room, quickly silenced by XR Leth's sharp look. Jack stepped onto the platform. Up close, the armor was even stranger. Its surface rippled like water, with lines of light moving across it in patterns that almost made sense. It stood about 7 feet tall, with long arms and a narrow waist. Unlike the others, Jack didn't rush. He walked slowly around the armor, studying it. Something about the way the lights moved caught his attention. "They're not random," he said quietly. "What?" Vela asked, stepping closer. "The light patterns. They're responding to movement in the room. Like eyes tracking us." Jack moved his hand slowly near the armor, not touching it. The lights followed his movements. "It's watching us," he said, "or scanning us." Jack looked into the featureless faceplate of the armor. "Hello," he said simply. "I'm Jack." The room stayed silent. Some of the aliens exchanged looks. "I know you can see me," Jack continued. "I think you've been watching for a long time." The lights on the armor pulsed once, brighter than before. Jack slowly raised his hand. "I'm going to touch you now, if that's okay." He placed his palm gently against the chest of the armor. No sparks flew. No pain shocked through him. Instead, the armor grew warm under his touch. The lights raced faster, swirling around his hand. "It's happening," Vela whispered, her eyes wide. The armor's surface began to flow like liquid metal, rippling out from Jack's hand. A low hum filled the room, building in intensity. "Step back," XR Leth ordered. "No," Jack said. "It's not rejecting me. It's responding." The lights on the armor grew blindingly bright. Jack felt a strange sensation, like fingers brushing against his mind. Then everything went wrong. The armor suddenly pulsed with energy. Every light in the room exploded. The platform cracked beneath Jack's feet. He tried to pull away, but his hand seemed fused to the armor's chest. "Something's wrong," Vela shouted over the noise. Jack felt the mental touch grow stronger, almost desperate. Not angry, not painful, but urgent, like something trying to speak after centuries of silence. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The lights came back on. Jack fell backward, his connection to the armor broken. The room was in chaos. Alarms blared. Guards rushed in. But Jack wasn't listening to any of it, because for just a moment, He had heard a voice in his mind, ancient and powerful. Finally, it had said, "You came." The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Jack sat on the edge of a bed while a doctor checked his vital signs. His hand still tingled where he had touched the armor. "Your heart rate is elevated, but otherwise you seem fine," the doctor said, closing her scanner. "Whatever happened in there didn't harm you physically." The door slid open and Vela walked in. She dismissed the doctor with a nod. "The council is in an uproar," she said, sitting beside Jack. "No one has ever gotten a response from the armor before." Jack rubbed his hand. I heard a voice. In my head. Vela leaned forward. What did it say? "Finally, you came. Like it was waiting for me. Or, not me specifically, but a human." Vela finished. She pulled out a small device and showed him a screen full of data. "I've been studying the armor for years. The Alliance scientists were approaching it all wrong. They kept trying to force it to work, to bend to their will." She swiped through images. "Look at these scans. The interior of the armor has spaces that match human anatomy almost perfectly. The neural interface points aligned with human brainwave patterns." Jack stared at the images. "You're saying it was made for humans. But how? The armor is hundreds of years old, discovered long before humans joined the Alliance." "Thousands of years old, actually," Vela corrected. "And that's the big question. Either the armor was made by humans long before our recorded history, or it was made by whoever created humans," Jack said quietly. The door opened again. Xar Leth entered, his ancient face unreadable. "The council demands answers," he said. "What happened in that room?" Jack and Vela exchanged looks. "The armor responded to me," Jack said. "It started to communicate." Xar Leth's eyes narrowed. "In all our history, the Aegis has never communicated with anyone. Why would it speak to a human?" Vela stood up. "Elder, I believe the armor may have been designed for human physiology. My research suggests." "Impossible." Xar Leth cut her off. "The armor predates human civilization by millennia. Maybe our understanding of human history is incomplete," Jack suggested. Xar Leth was quiet for a long moment. "The Void Swarm has taken another system while we talk. 3 billion lives lost." Jack felt cold at the number. "I want to try again with the armor." "The council feels it is too dangerous." "More dangerous than losing everything to the swarm?" Jack asked. Xar Leth's tail swished slowly. "I have lived for 3 centuries, human. I have seen many threats to our alliance. None like this swarm. If there is even a small chance." He seemed to make a decision. "You will have one more chance, but not alone. Dr. Norton's theory has merit. If the armor was designed for humans, then perhaps more humans would be better than one." Vela's eyes widened. "A team approach." "That's exactly what I was thinking." Xar Leth nodded. "You have 6 hours to gather your team. Choose wisely." After he left, Jack turned to Vela. "Who do we need?" Vela pulled up personnel files on her device. "The armor has different systems: defense, mobility, biological interface, mechanical systems. We need specialists for each." "I know just the people," Jack said, taking the device. He scrolled through files of human personnel on the station. "Lieutenant San Weber, tactical specialist. Best strategic mind I've ever met." He swiped to another file. "Dr. Alice Patel, xenobiologist. She understands how different species think and communicate." Another swipe. "Engineer Greg Collins. The man can fix anything with moving parts." One more. "And pilot Kate Monroe. Former racing pilot. Nobody understands movement and space like she does." Vela studied the files. "Perfect. But will they agree? This is dangerous, untested technology we're talking about." Jack smiled for the first time since touching the armor. "They're human. Curiosity is our defining trait." As they left to find the others, Jack felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. The armor had waited for humans. Now humans were coming, not one but 5. And somehow, deep down, he knew that would make all the difference. The chamber of trials looked different with 5 humans standing around the armor. Alliance security had doubled, with guards lining the walls. Several council members watched from behind protective barriers. "So we just touch it?" Sam asked. The tall lieutenant looked skeptical, his hand resting on his sidearm out of habit. "Not exactly," Vela said. She had spent the last few hours explaining her theories to the team. The armor doesn't want to be controlled. It wants a partner. Kate walked around the armor, studying it with a pilot's eye for detail. "It's built for movement. Look at those joints." Greg knelt and examined the feet of the armor. "The material is like nothing I've ever seen. Not metal, not ceramic. Something else entirely." Alice stood quietly, watching the light patterns. "It's aware of us. All of us. The patterns change depending on who it's focusing on." Jack took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this together. No ceremonies, no attempts to force it. We approach as equals, offering partnership." The 5 humans formed a circle around the armor. Jack nodded to each of them. "Ready?" They nodded back. As one, they each placed a hand on the armor. Unlike before, there was no chaos. Instead, the lights on the armor began to pulse in a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat. "It's scanning us," Alice whispered. "I can feel it." The surface under their hands warmed. The rippling increased, the metal-like substance flowing like water. Jack felt the presence in his mind again, stronger now. Not one voice, but many, speaking in harmony. "It's asking us something," Jack said. "Not with words exactly. More like feelings." Sam's eyes widened. "Trust. It's asking if we trust each other." "And if we trust it," Kate added. Greg nodded. "If we're willing to work together." "Yes," Jack said aloud to the armor. "We trust each other. We'll work with you, not try to control you." The response was immediate. The armor began to break apart, pieces floating in the air. The aliens watching gasped and backed away, but the humans stood their ground. The pieces spun faster, then shot toward Jack. They wrapped around his body, flowing like liquid before hardening into a perfect fit. Jack felt a moment of panic as the armor covered his face, then calm as he realized he could see better than before. But the armor didn't stop with him. Smaller pieces broke off and moved to the others. Bracelet-like bands wrapped around their wrists. Thin circlets settled on their heads. Inside the armor, Jack saw displays light up. Information flowed too fast to read. He felt the others in his mind, not taking over but joining, each consciousness distinct yet connected. "I can feel the defense systems," Sam said in wonder. "The biological interface is incredible," Alice added. "The mechanical systems, there are thousands of them," Greg whispered. "The movement capabilities," Kate laughed. "We could dance among stars with this." And then there was another presence, older than any of them. A consciousness that had waited alone for centuries. "Sentinel," Jack said, the name coming to him from the armor itself. "Your name is Sentinel." The voice finally spoke clearly in all their minds. "Yes, I am Sentinel, guardian of the precursors. I have waited for those who understand partnership over domination, for those with minds flexible enough to join without losing themselves." "Humans," Vela said. "Yes, your kind were always the intended wielders. The others could not understand. They sought to master me, to bend me to their will." The armor around Jack shifted, becoming more streamlined. He lifted his hand and watched in amazement as the armor responded instantly, moving with him rather than being moved by him. Zarleth stepped forward, his ancient eyes wide with wonder. "By the first stars, it has awakened." "No," Jack said, his voice slightly changed by the armor. "We have awakened. Together." As if to prove his point, Sentinel's power flowed through the armor. Jack rose a few inches off the ground, suspended by energy fields. Light gathered around his hands, powerful but controlled. The other humans gasped as information flowed between them through the smaller pieces of armor they wore. They weren't just controlling different systems, they were becoming one system, yet each remained themselves. Impossible, whispered a Mox representative. Tell us, Sentinel, Hexarleth said. Can you help us against the Void Swarm? The answer came through Jack, but they all knew it was Sentinel speaking. We were created to fight far worse than your swarm. Together, we will show you how. The Alliance Command Center buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from the front lines. The Void Swarm had reached Helios Prime, one of the largest Alliance colonies with over 10 million people. Jack and his team stood to the side, still connected through Sentinel. The armor had retracted into a sleeker form that covered Jack from neck to toe, with glowing lines tracing complex patterns across its surface. The others wore smaller pieces, wristbands, collars, and thin circlets that kept them linked to the system. The evacuation is only 30% complete, reported a Krell officer. Our defense fleet is outnumbered 20-1. Commander Zex turned to Jack. We need time. Can your armor help? Before Jack could answer, Sentinel spoke through their shared mental link. The swarm uses simple but effective tactics. Overwhelming numbers. We can disrupt their coordination. Jack nodded. We'll go. Sentinel believes we can make a difference. One armor against millions of swarm ships. Zex looked doubtful. You haven't seen what Sentinel can do yet, Sam said with a confident smile. An hour later, the human team boarded a small Alliance transport ship. As the pilot prepared for launch, Jack felt Sentinel reaching deeper into his mind, sharing knowledge. These swarm creatures, Jack said to his team, they're not just mindless insects. They have a central intelligence that controls them. Kate looked up from her station. How do you know that? Sentinel is showing me. The precursors fought similar enemies before. The swarm has a command node somewhere in the fleet. If we can find it and disrupt it, the whole swarm could fall apart. Greg finished. The ship jolted as it entered hyperspace. The journey to Helios Prime would take 3 hours, precious time for the team to learn more about Sentinel's capabilities. Alice closed her eyes, accessing the biological data Sentinel was sharing. Amazing. Sentinel can adapt to any environment, even space. The armor provides complete life support. Greg was examining a holographic display of the armor systems. The technology. It's like nothing we've built. It uses principles of physics we haven't even discovered yet. The weapon systems are incredible, Sam added. But they're all defensive in nature, designed to protect, not just destroy. Jack listened to them, feeling the connection between all 5 humans growing stronger. Through Sentinel, they were becoming something new. Not losing their individuality, but enhancing it by sharing strengths. A flash of light ended their journey as the ship dropped out of hyperspace. Through the viewport, they saw hell. Helios Prime, once a beautiful blue-green world, was surrounded by a black cloud of swarm ships. Alliance cruisers fired desperately, their weapons creating brief flashes of light before being overwhelmed. It's worse than we thought, the pilot said grimly. Jack stood. Open the airlock. The pilot turned in shock. We're not docked. And we're in the middle of a battle. Trust me, Jack said. The pilot looked at Commander Zex on the comm screen, who reluctantly nodded. As the airlock opened, Jack felt Sentinel's armor shift around him. A helmet formed over his head, sealing with a soft hiss. The others watched as the armor's surface rippled with power. Stay in mental contact, Jack told his team. I need all of you. Then he stepped into space. Instead of drifting away, Jack hung suspended in the vacuum. Energy fields glowed around him as Sentinel's systems fully activated. Through their mental link, the others could see what Jack saw. Enhanced views of the battle, data flowing in streams around his vision. The command node, Alice said suddenly. I can sense it through Sentinel's scanners. It's at the center of the swarm. Jack nodded. Sentinel's propulsion systems activated, and he shot forward like a bullet toward the heart of the battle. Alliance ships noticed the small, fast-moving object and adjusted their fire to avoid him. Swarm ships, however, immediately changed course to intercept. They can sense Sentinel, Sam realized. They recognized the technology. The first wave of swarm fighters reached Jack. He raised his hands instinctively, and Sentinel responded. Energy shields bloomed around him, deflecting attacks. Weapon systems activated, firing precise bursts that disabled rather than destroyed. They fear us, Jack said as he fought through the swarm. No, they fear Sentinel. Whatever created the armor, the swarm has encountered it before. As Jack drove deeper into the heart of the battle, the mental link with his team stretched but held. Together, they were making progress. But the swarm was rallying, bringing more ships to stop this new threat. Sentinel spoke in their shared consciousness. This is only the beginning. We must reach the command node. Jack fought his way through waves of swarm ships, Sentinel's weapons firing with perfect accuracy. But for every ship he disabled, 10 more took its place. The mental link with his team was straining under the pressure. There are too many, Sam mourned through their connection. The odds are impossible. Jack gritted his teeth as a swarm blast glanced off his shield. We don't need to defeat them all. We just need to reach the command node. Back on the transport ship, Vela paced nervously. She wasn't part of the direct neural link, but she monitored their vital signs and the armor's energy levels. Greg suddenly straightened in his seat. Wait, Sentinel keeps referring to itself as we. What if it wasn't designed for just one person? Alice's eyes widened. The neural interface has 5 distinct connection patterns. What if Sentinel was meant to be used by 5 people together, not just one with 4 helpers? Kate turned to Vela. Is that possible? Could Sentinel expand to cover all of us? Vela checked the data flowing across her screen. The armor reshapes itself based on need. In theory, yes, but you'd have to be physically together, not separated like this. What? No, Jack shouted as he dodged another attack. It's too dangerous out here. We're not meant to be apart, Alice said firmly. Sentinel was designed for a team, not an individual. Greg was already heading for the airlock. We need to join physically, not just mentally. Are you insane? The ship's pilot protested. You'll die the moment you step into space. Kate smiled. No, we won't. Sentinel will protect us. One by one, they stepped into the airlock. As the outer door opened, exposing them to the vacuum of space, pieces of Sentinel's armor flowed from their connection points, expanding to cover their bodies completely. 4 armored figures floated out into space, their suits similar to Jack's, but each with subtle differences reflecting their roles. I can feel it, Sam said in wonder. The armor knows what I need. They propelled themselves toward Jack, who was struggling against an increasing number of swarm ships. When they reached him, something magical happened. As the 5 humans touched, Sentinel's armor flowed between them, creating connections of pure energy. The humans remained individuals, but Sentinel joined them into something greater. This is it, Alice whispered. This is what Sentinel was designed for. The armor expanded around them, growing larger and more complex. It formed a structure around the team, not quite a ship, not quite a mech, but something in between. Each human occupied a different position, controlling systems perfectly matched to their skills. Sam controlled defensive shields that blocked incoming attacks. Kate directed their movement, flying with impossible grace. Greg managed the mechanical systems, making instant repairs. Alice interfaced with Sentinel sensors, tracking the location of the command node. And Jack stood at the center, connecting them all. Together, Jack said, feeling the full power of Sentinel for the first time. Now we can fight. The combined form of Sentinel shot forward like a comet, tearing through the swarm formations. Weapons fire bounced harmlessly off their enhanced shields. Energy beams sliced through clusters of enemy ships, disabling them without destruction. The command node is changing position, Alice warned. It's trying to hide from us. It knows what we are, Sam said. It's afraid. Their shared consciousness allowed them to react as one. Where before Jack had fought with Sentinel's power, but human limitations, now 5 humans working in perfect harmony brought out Sentinel's true potential. There, Kate called, spotting a massive ship at the heart of the swarm. Unlike the insect-like fighters, this was a pulsing orb surrounded by protective layers. That's it, Alice confirmed. The command node. The swarm seemed to realize their target was discovered. Every ship turned to protect the node, forming a living barrier of thousands of vessels. How do we get through that? Greg asked. Jack felt Sentinel's knowledge flowing through him. We don't fight them. We disrupt them. Sentinel's form shifted again, concentrating energy at its core. The 5 humans felt the power building, drawing from their combined consciousness. What's happening? Sam asked. Sentinel is using our connection, Jack explained, understanding flowing from the armor to him. The swarm is powerful because it's many minds working as one. But we're different. We're separate minds choosing to work together. That's something the swarm can't understand or defend against. Energy pulsed outward from Sentinel in expanding rings. Where it touched swarm ships, their formation broke. They drifted, disoriented. Now, Jack shouted. While they're confused, Sentinel surged forward, breaking through the weakened barrier, straight toward the command node.